Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday. It's been a while since I did a video. I've been really busy if you've been following the other projects. As you can see, this video today is about the Serena meltdown and my reaction to it. I'm not really reacting to Serena as much as I am to the moment, right? Because I believe that this might be like kind of a watershed moment for all of our culture at the moment, because there are basically two kinds of reactions. Those who stayed objective and really cognizant of not only the rules, but evaluating the situation and looking at the behavior in a adult manner, and those who had an emotional reaction and jumped on the social justice bandwagon without any research or knowledge. So below, you'll find three videos. You'll find one showing Serena's behavior other times, and John McEnroe in the same video, John McEnroe getting kicked out for the same kind of behavior in this situation. You're going to find Stephen A. Smith's reaction versus Max, the beta male, his just excusing bad behavior in sports, and there's just no excuse, right? Because it's a dangerous thing. And also, you're going to find a woman who is a huge tennis fan, her reaction. So, my reaction is basically that we need to all acknowledge that Serena is obviously on testosterone, possibly other things. You don't come back from pregnancy and nearly win a championship at her age without help. And it's happened in men's sports, it's happened in women's sports, but men's sports is a little bit more common. You've got Barry Bonds and A-Rod and Ken Griffey Jr., and Lance Armstrong, and these are really great examples. We just see, in her, she's gone from having a feminine jawline to a very pronounced jaw. That's very obviously a testosterone heavy jaw, which means she probably was having a bit of a roid rage incident. Her blood got up, and it got under her skin that she was losing. I don't want to be clear about this. She was going to lose anyways. This young woman, Naomi Osaka, she had already manhandled Serena once. She's a huge fan of Serena, so she had studied her moves growing up. So she's just younger, faster, stronger. Maybe not denser stronger, because she's not probably taking testosterone, but she's definitely stronger with her tennis right now. And, she deserved the win. She was going to win. Serena knew it. That's what made her so mad that she threw the racket down. That racket violation, that's an automatic violation. That has nothing to do with Carlos Ramos. That is an automatic tennis violation. Okay, coaching was admitted to, so there's one strike. The racket throwing down, that's an automatic violation. And then no matter what anybody says, she definitely verbally abused the judge. When you attack the person's identity, it's ironic about social justice warriors. They want to participate in using identity politics so long as it helps their identity. But as soon as it actually goes against them, then they're going to jump on the other bandwagon and play the victim currency. So let's talk about that moment, and let's talk about this entire dog whistling phenomena that is going on. Virtue signaling is not new. Virtue signaling has been around. You could see it in political cartoons going back into the 1700s. Virtue signaling is just another way that people come together as a tribe. So that's completely normal. The fact that she jumped immediately to because I'm a woman, that phrase, because I'm a woman, that's a phrase that women have used forever, really, to get a kind of an upper hand, to try and equalize the power dynamic. And in this case, she was using it against a couple of judges, so she kind of like brought it up. She wanted to bring it up. She wasn't using it against him. She had already berated him. She saw him as below her by far. And that's probably because he's up there. Now, they put people up on that. They put the umpires up on that platform for a reason, to make it very clear, because it's an aristocratic sport, that you are not in control, right? And your coach isn't in control, right? They don't want the coach interfering, right? Probably the coach was sitting up there doing the sign for shut up, it's like, stop talking, Serena. But she was in her mode. Once she got into her mode, she acted like a man on testosterone. When you have that much testosterone, you're going to be aggressive. Women who are going to take testosterone uh, whether it's for sports or for health reason, or they just want to have that fit body and they want to have as many muscles as men who are working out and doing weight training. You just need to know that there's a reason why men are violent and aggressive. Testosterone is an aggressive drug. If you have lions in the savannah, the one who's the most dominant is going to be the one with the most testosterone. We see this with pit bulls as well. You see it with when elephants go into musk, and the stuff starts coming out their ears. The bull elephants' testosterone levels can skyrocket by 100 times. And they will trounce every other male elephant in the area, and they will kill people. Why? Because testosterone is a hot hormone. So, you almost can't blame her for the first part, because she's on something that she needed in order to get back. And I hope she stops, because I don't want it to break. If she's getting away with it now, she needs to stop forever. I'm sure the tennis commission is going to start looking at her, though, and going, hey, what's going on with Serena Williams? She's behaving a little differently than the Serena Williams that we have come to love and expect. And there's going to be journalists who will dig into the past. Ask A-Rod and ask Lance Armstrong. They will find out. And I hope that she stops, because she is the greatest of all time, and she needs to stop while she is ahead. However, the basic fact is that afterwards, when she had been tamped down, when she had been humbled, she used tactics, whether they were just female tactics like saying because I'm a woman, or social justice tactics at the press conference, in order to obscure the lie of the situation, and in order to make it murky. And the making of things murky enabled a whole load of people who know nothing about sports and know nothing about sportsmanship to come in and jump to her aid and add things that she hadn't even added, because she didn't put race into it, which is good. Putting sex into it was bad enough because her opponent was a woman. So was he taking away from one woman to go to another woman? It made no logical sense. I'm not saying women are all hysterical and illogical, but when women get emotional, they do tend to lose that edge. Men tend to get violent, so it's not necessarily that men are better, okay? I'm just saying it happens. When she lost that, though, then she tried to go to the next level, and then people added more. So this entire group of people who are using identity politics as a weapon, they don't like it when you point out facts. I had a person, I had posted a Google search result, okay? You can go on the Google search results and you can find the links, okay, yourself. You can see the links. And this person then added words to what I had said, and when I called them out on it, she called me nuts, and it's like, well, if being a man of honor is nuts, then yeah, I'm crazy. Because if people are going to attack your person and you use facts, it makes them more emotional. Why? Because they want to blend and obscure the reality. They want it to kind of like be hidden as to what is really going on in the world. And I think that this is very dangerous. Now, I'm not saying that Republicans are better than Democrats in that manner. There are many times that the Republicans will look the other way while a candidate maybe say like a pedophile, or they might be a preacher that's stolen from the church. It's quite common, and there's no denying that is going on. There's also no denying that there is racism on both sides, and probably sexism on both sides. The difference between the kind of sexism, though, that we're talking about here is it's what Jordan Peterson has made very clear. There's a defined limit on going on the right as to what is acceptable behavior. But there's, for some reason, no definable limit on going the other way. It's just murkier and murkier stuff. Like the further you go, the less defined it seems to get. And by being undefined, you get people getting away with all sorts of behavior which is inappropriate. And Serena Williams standing up there and saying that she's been fighting for women's equality, unsourced, unsighted. She didn't provide any evidence of that. She's just, again, dog whistling and trying to create a lightning rod out of nothing. She's Colin Kaepernicking, okay, and in so doing, she's actually harming women's rights and women's lib. So then the press conference was a total tragedy because, well, it was already a tragedy at the ceremony because people were booing, and Naomi Osaka, who had earned this victory, okay, she won. She manhandled Serena in the first two sets. Now they're booing. She thinks it was booing at her, and she's a very humble person. She's Japanese, so as you can imagine, being Haitian Japanese, she is pretty humble, reserved kind of gal. She's not an American loudmouth, and it was a real tragedy to see her actually have tears when it was her moment to shine. And then every interview, it's always about Serena as well. It's not just, congratulations to you. Well, how did you feel about your idol behaving this way? So Serena really owes, she owes the tennis world and the country, but especially Naomi Osaka, an apology. And that's all there is to it. And the fact that after this, she didn't come to her senses, that because she is so privileged, because she is so rich, and because she's so used to winning, and that she thought that she should win, and she had this narrative in her mind that she was going to be this superwoman who accomplished having a baby and winning, and it was denied her. It just wasn't fated for her to win. That she decided then to go into this press conference and in a rational state to actually make this an equality thing, to make it like civil rights, like she's Rosa Parks, and nothing could be further than the truth. This idea that Colin Kaepernick or Serena Williams are like Rosa Parks, this message that's been going around is a totally false narrative. It's a false equivalency on every scale. Although Rosa Parks staged her protest, that was a real thing that she went through. So she really was put to the back of the bus, right? So her protest was organic. And also she was a actual victim, right? She was actually being discriminated against, and she was a poor nobody who had been chosen by Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement leaders in order to set up that situation, right? Now, some people don't like that Rosa Parks set up that situation and sort of taints it in their eyes, in the same way it taints it when you find out that flag was pushed up by the soldiers previously, and then they redid it again for a photo op, or that the toppling of Saddam Hussein's statue wasn't organic, but it was orchestrated by the United States government. That does tend to lessen it, but the fact is, Rosa Parks actually was a victim of discrimination. Serena Williams isn't a victim of discrimination. She's actually able to get ahead, possibly. I mean, here you are, you're young. At the time, she was like 14, 15. And she's coming in with her sister, and they are blazing a trail through tennis that's rarely blazed by African Americans, and becoming the best of the best. You better believe she was the darling. She is the darling. She is the darling of the tennis world, and the behavior of the darling is not reflective of what should be done by somebody who is of her stature. So good on Stephen A. Smith for calling it out and for telling it like it is. It's a real shame that beta males like Max, whatever his last name, Schlerer or something like that, will sit there on ESPN, which is, of course, owned by ABC, which is owned by Disney, so it's not a surprise. But it's a real shame that he'll sit there and add to the virtue signaling and the race baiting and all of the words there to enhance this dog whistle, to give it legitimacy when it's not legitimate. There's no under no context in a court of law she would be convicted, because all the evidence strongly favors. There's not like a middle ground here. She called the man a thief, and she berated him from below and told him that she threatened him that he'll never be judging on her court, which means she thinks she runs the tennis world. That's what that means. So, she had a privileged position as not only a millionaire and already being the greatest up there. Can you imagine if Michael Jordan had, in one of the game's rare times that he was ever ejected, if he had said, "Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm Michael Jordan. You're doing this because I'm black." Can you imagine if he had done that? That would be a very classless thing to do. Michael Jordan never did that, and he was ejected very rarely, very rarely. Or look at Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman knew he was bad. He has a whole documentary. I'm as bad as I want to be. Okay, and Dennis Rodman's black. He had no problem with being ejected, and he never went up to a ref and said, "You're doing this because I'm black," because he knew his behavior was incorrect. And in the sports world, you have to, in professional sports at least, you have to remain professional. And if you're not professional, there will be fines. There's an article from 1991, I'll post that below too, that shows a list of John McEnroe's fines. And he got a lot of them because he wasn't professional. Right? He slammed rackets all the time. He was a little shite. And he knows it. The fact that he's up there grandstanding, you know what he's doing? He's sticking up for Serena because he just wants those rules to go away. He was always a rebel. He's not interested in authority. He doesn't like the aristocracy aspect of the tennis world, and he's just taken a hit back at the people who fined him all those years for his bad behavior. And it's okay. That's the way he did things. He was kind of a bad boy of tennis. But he got fined and he got kicked out of games and he destroyed rackets and he lost games and points for those kinds of behaviors. So the idea that this is a one-off moment that had never happened to a man, totally false. And the fact that so many people want to come forward and defend her, that's the watershed moment that I'm speaking of. That's the danger that we are in, because you're dividing society into two groups of people: those with kind of a rational sense about things. Most people are just being quiet; they're not interested, but they're kind of in the middle. And they would, if they took a look, they would understand. And if they watch this video, they're going to understand. And then a side that is foaming at the mouth, and the foaming at the mouth is dangerous. And that's why I think that progressives need to be kind of tamped down in the fall, because they are stealing away the values of the Democratic Party, what values there may or may not be, and they're turning them into a completely dangerous, diluted kind of reality, where there's a hierarchy, but the hierarchy is bad as long as it has white men at the top. In their mind, white men are at the top, even though there's no data that supports that. But if you can put white men at the bottom, then hierarchy is great. And the more anti-norm you are, the more that hierarchy is. That should favor you. That way, if you were a black, Asian, female, trans, who happens to be lesbian too, you could be the top of everything. And that kind of thinking is really weird, because it's not just racist and sexist. It's also just so skewed from all the population and all the data that a lot of people who would fit such a description, they have a lot of clinical issues. Like there are remarkable cases, go look it up, of depression and suicide among very rare groups like that. And is it because they're oppressed? Possibly. Is it because they're confused? Possibly. Every case has to be individually sorted through. But for Serena to try and climb that ladder just so that she can be above Carlos Ramos, who obviously is Hispanic, and to also be above the power structure of the U.S. Open elite, or the referees, however you want to define that. It's really backwards, and it's like I say, is very dangerous culturally. And so I hope people can now take a look at this and look at these videos and go, okay, so this is what happened. And when you meet people who make excuses, say, no, that's not what happened at all. And if we after that disagree, then we'll just have to agree to disagree. And I hope anybody who's out there like, share, subscribe, and have a pleasant day and a pleasant week.